On my wedding day, I, the bride, had to take an Uber to my own venue. When the wedding limo and the luxury convoy arrived to pick me up, my fiancé blocked me right in front of the car door. Let Lily have this ride. I'll call you another Uber. I froze on the spot, completely speechless. Ethan continued, without a hint of guilt. Lily is anti-marriage, but she really wanted to know what it feels like to be a bride. I already promised her. She'll be the one walking down the aisle for the entrance ceremony today. I looked past his shoulder. His childhood best friend, Lily, had already changed into a gorgeous, white wedding gown and was sitting comfortably in the main bridal car. Seeing tears welling up in my eyes, Ethan sighed, trying to comfort me with a dismissive tone. A wedding is just a performance anyway. As long as we get the legal marriage license, we're good. Besides, once Lily is done with her little experience, you can always walk the aisle again. With that, he turned around without a second glance. The convoy of dozens of luxury sports cars roared to life, speeding away and leaving me in a cloud of dust. I closed my eyes, fighting back the lump in my throat. It had been like this ever since we started planning the wedding. Just because Lily was anti-marriage and would never have a wedding of her own in the future. So, she had to try on my wedding dress first. She had to pick the wedding venue. And now, she even got to experience my own wedding ceremony first. The traffic light turned red ahead, but the wedding convoy sped up, leaving my Uber far behind in the distance. My driver gripped the steering wheel, glancing at me through the rearview mirror and called out, "Where to now, miss?" I stared at the empty road where the taillights of the luxury cars had vanished. I forced a faint smile at the driver. "Don't worry about the venue. Please turn around." Whether it was a wedding or a man, I had no interest in using something that had already been used and experienced by someone else. My voice fell right into the silence between songs playing on the car radio. The air in the car quieted down for a few seconds. The driver was stunned. He leaned back slightly, his voice rising in disbelief. "What did you say? Turn around?" I gently rubbed the fabric of my wedding dress. I unlocked my phone. On my lock screen, there was our pre-wedding photo. Ethan and I were smiling so happily, looking like the perfect couple. Outside, the gossiping voices of pedestrians drifted through the cracked window. "Did you see that? That wedding convoy was insane. Maseratis, Porsches, dozens of luxury cars. They say the more expensive the wedding cars, the more blessed the bride is. The groom must be head over heels in love with her." My fingers trembled slightly. Another passerby sighed. "Well, different people, different fates. I just came from the Grand Plaza Hotel, and I literally saw a bride arriving in an Uber." "No way. That's so embarrassing." My phone screen went black. I squeezed the hem of my dress, wrinkling the delicate lace. I swallowed the bitterness in my throat and repeated clearly, "Yes. Take me back to my hotel. I'm not getting married anymore." The countdown ended, and the red light turned green. A horn honked impatiently behind us. The driver swallowed whatever questions he had left. He quickly spun the steering wheel, making a sharp U-turn. As the car smoothed out on the road, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Ethan. "I told the convoy to speed up on purpose so you couldn't keep up. Don't try to chase us. Tell your driver to take it slow. Don't arrive at the hotel at the same time as Lily. She hates it when people steal her spotlight. Also, enter through the back door near the kitchen later. Lily is sensitive. If people see you entering the main ballroom at the same time as her, it'll be hard for her to explain." It was rare for Ethan to send me such a long message. From her feelings to her reputation, every single word was carefully thought out for Lily. But just a moment ago, when he dragged me out of my own wedding car in front of everyone and forced me into an Uber, he never once considered if people would gossip about me. He never thought about whether I would lose my dignity. I opened the chat box and slowly typed out, "I'm calling off the wedding. Do whatever you want." Just as I was about to press send, notifications started popping up frantically at the top of my screen. It was the Snapchat group chat with Ethan's friends. Ever since they added me, the group had been dead silent. But suddenly, it was blowing up. Lily, being a bride for a day. Dozens of photos instantly flooded the chat. They were taken inside the wedding limo. Lily was clinging to Ethan, posing for countless intimate couple photos, making finger hearts, pressing their cheeks together. My gaze lingered on the last photo for a long time. In the photo, Ethan had his head resting in the palm of Lily's hand, smiling with pure, gentle adoration. I had shown him this exact pose before our photo shoot, using a reference picture. At the time, he had scoffed, saying it was cheesy and childish. The replies in the group chat started rolling in immediately. "Honestly, you two are the ultimate soulmates. I've been shipping you guys since we were kids, and it's finally happening." That was Logan, Ethan's childhood best friend. He had once told me how grateful he was that I healed Ethan's broken heart after Lily went abroad. He said we were a match made in heaven. If I knew it was you two getting married today, I wouldn't have skipped the reception. I couldn't stand watching that boring rebound girl take advantage of Lily being away. Is it too late to buy a plane ticket and fly back now? That was Tyler, Ethan's cousin. Once, Ethan asked me to deliver some important documents he forgot at home. It was pouring rain that day and my car skidded and hit a light pole. When I limped into his office to deliver them, Tyler almost cried, saying those documents were for a multi-million-dollar project and that I was his savior. And then there were Ethan's other cousins, college roommates, old classmates. Ethan had introduced me to every single person in this group. When we met in person, they were always polite and nice. But behind my back, they degraded and insulted me without mercy, calling me a plain Jane, a desperate clinger, an opportunist. Then, Ethan sent a message, completely unfazed. Don't talk about her. Just focus on how beautiful Lily looks today. My hands shook with rage as I typed furiously. Are you guys serious? Do you all disgust yourselves, or is it just me? The moment my message popped up, the group chat fell dead silent for 2 seconds. The last message sent was, "Oh shit, guys, wrong group chat." Before I could type anything else, Ethan's name flashed across my screen. He was calling me fast and urgent. I pressed answer. There was no apology, no explanation, only 2 cold words. Apologize now. A wave of absurdity washed over me. Me? Apologize? I almost laughed out loud from sheer anger. What am I apologizing for? For you guys talking trash about me behind my back? Or for the fact that you created a separate group chat just to exclude me after adding me to this one? The line went silent for a few seconds. Then, I heard Ethan let out a weary, frustrated sigh. Hazel, you're not a $100 bill. You can't expect everyone to love you. The people in that group grew up with Lily and me. You're a new addition, so it's normal if some of them don't accept you right away. Lily was trying to be respectful by adding you to the group in the first place. I tilted my head back, forcing the tears back. So what? Ethan paused, his voice dropping a fraction. Just apologize in the group. Say you don't mind the jokes. Lily is. She's crying really hard right now. She feels incredibly guilty. She thinks this is all her fault for adding you to the chat. My chest felt like it had been pierced by a gaping hole, letting the cold wind howl through. So just because Lily cried, I had to bow my head and apologize to the very people who had just humiliated me. He kept talking, but I couldn't hear a word after that. Tears blurred my vision, and I choked out. Ethan, we're done. The wedding is off. And we are never getting that marriage license. Ethan didn't answer. Someone muffled the phone speaker on his end. I could faintly hear the rustle of clothes, tissues, and Lily's soft sobbing. And then, Ethan's patient, gentle cooing. Hey, don't cry. Hazel said, she doesn't blame you. She's just being overly sensitive. Wipe your tears. You're about to go on stage. Didn't you say you wanted to look perfect for the photos? It took a while before the other side quieted down. Ethan's voice came through clearly again, dripping with annoyance. All right, hurry up and apologize in the group. We're literally getting married today. Why are you throwing a tantrum now? I don't have time to baby you on our wedding day. Remembering what I had just said, he let out a scoff. Besides, call off the wedding? Like you'd actually be willing to do that. 10 years of being together. He was entirely convinced I would never leave him. I hung up. I slid over to the side of the seat and rolled down the window. I let the harsh wind ruin my hair and makeup, which had taken 3 hours to perfect. The Uber driver, who had heard the entire conversation, looked like he wanted to say something. Finally, he couldn't help himself. What kind of guy is that? How did a jerk like him even get a girl like you? Back when I married my wife, I treated her like a queen. I literally carried her over the threshold. Carried? A faint ache spread through my chest. Ethan used to carry me, too. During our sophomore year, a massive blizzard hit the campus. The snow was knee-deep, and classes were canceled. I had a fever of 104 degrees. My roommates were panicking, trying to cool me down with frozen towels, crying because they didn't know what to do. It was Ethan who broke into the girls' dorm, picked me up, and carried me on his back to the campus hospital 3 miles away. Through my hazy consciousness, I remembered how he was shivering, slipping, and falling in the snow over and over again. But I was warm. I didn't feel the wind at all, because he had taken off his only heavy winter coat to wrap around me. In the end, he suffered severe exhaustion and frostbite. Back then, his love was so real that even the freezing blizzard couldn't hide it. The driver shook his head in disbelief after hearing my story. How does a guy go from that to this? I stared out the window in silence. I didn't know. Or maybe I did. He changed the moment Lily came back to the country. The first time he lost his temper and shattered our matching couple cups was because of Lily. The first time he left me stranded at my office in the middle of a thunderstorm until midnight was because he went to pick up Lily. The first time I had to undergo surgery, he was at an amusement park riding roller coasters with Lily. Ever since Lily announced she was anti-marriage, Ethan seemed to find the perfect excuse to openly show her favoritism. Countless first times, countless compromises. They all piled up until, before I knew it, we ended up here. When I left the Snapchat group, Ethan sent me a single question mark. And then nothing. To him, this was just another one of my silent protests. He believed that in no time, I would crawl back, apologize, and beg for his forgiveness. But this time, I was truly exhausted. Under the pitying and surprised gaze of the receptionist, I dragged my heavy gown back to my hotel room. I washed off my makeup and struggled out of the wedding dress. Collapsing onto the bed, I stared at the blank white ceiling, feeling completely detached. How did everything fall apart so fast? Just last night, in this very bed, I was too excited to sleep. I opened my phone. Lily had just posted on her Instagram. Just to make sure certain people don't get triggered again, here's a quick video for everyone. This is purely a fun practice run. Ethan and I did absolutely nothing out of line. The video was a clip of the ceremony. Like a masochist, I clicked play. I watched Lily, dressed in a gorgeous white gown, walking gracefully toward Ethan amidst the applause of friends and family. They stood before the officiant, vowing to never part until death do them part. Then they exchanged rings, locking their fingers together. I let out a bitter, hollow laugh. They did everything except kiss. And yet, they had the nerve to tell me they didn't cross any lines. Lily's Instagram updates came fast and furious. They showed her raising a glass to his parents, receiving welcome to the family checks, pouring the champagne tower, and listening to the parental speeches. Without realizing it, they had gone far beyond this simple walk down the aisle Ethan had promised me. Only after the bouquet toss did Ethan finally send me a lazy text. Are you at the hotel? Wait in the dressing room for a bit. Lily was having so much fun, so she ended up doing the rest of the ceremony too. Don't be mad. Just think of this as your apology for making her cry earlier. The dressing room was literally 2 doors down from the main ballroom. Yet he didn't even bother to walk over and check on me. I didn't reply. Instead, I took a screenshot from the corner of Lily's video. It was a picture of a smashed, ruined wedding cake. I sent it to him. Why did you let her touch my cake? It's just a cake, Hazel. Don't make a big deal out of it. I'll have the hotel buy another one. I bit my lip until it went pale. Did you forget everything you promised me?
Why?
Why did my heart still hurt so much when I was already this disappointed? My dream wedding dress, which I had visited over a dozen boutiques to find, was ruined when Lily secretly tried it on and ripped the seams. Ethan said, "It's just a dress. Let's get another one." The beautiful garden chapel I had picked was secretly changed by Lily into a fantasy-themed indoor ballroom. Ethan said, "Let's go with her choice. She has better taste." Near the end of the wedding planning, my only demand was that I make the wedding cake myself. As a pastry chef, this was my ultimate dream. Back then, Lily hadn't returned to the country yet. Ethan had stood in front of my newly opened bakery, gently pinching my nose. My girl is so easy to please.
Fine.
On our wedding day, I'll personally make sure every single guest finishes their slice and writes a 500-word review for our master chef. I had laughed and thrown myself into his arms. Shut up. I kept rewinding the video, watching that short clip. The cake I had spent days preparing at the hotel kitchen was hacked into pieces. Before I could even have a single bite, Lily had smashed a handful of it onto the face of one of Ethan's friends. The crowd roared with laughter, playfully smearing frosting all over each other. My dream was trampled to the ground, smeared on the walls, and thrown into the trash. Ethan's reply paused for a few seconds. When the next message popped up, it stabbed right into my heart. "Hazel, don't be so ungrateful. It's just a cake. Why are you being so petty? None of your family members even showed up today. Lily had to ask her own friends to be your bridesmaids just to save you some face." The old scar was ripped wide open. I tapped my screen so hard it almost cracked. "Why my parents refused to come? Aren't you the one who knows why best?" He went silent. The pain I had buried deep inside rushed back, settling heavy in my lower abdomen. I remembered that day. The floor covered in bright red blood. The tearing, agonizing pain. In my panic, I had dialed the number of the person I trusted most. The moment the call went through, a loud, bratty female voice shrieked on the other end. "Hey, Mr. Busy Man. You promised to spend the whole day with me today. Turn off your phone, no taking calls." Then came the loud music of the amusement park parade, followed by a sharp click. He hung up on me, and I lost my baby. When I woke up, I was lying in a hospital bed. The first person I saw wasn't Ethan, but my roommate. She was the one who found me passed out on the living room floor after work, rushed me to the ER, and signed the consent form for the emergency surgery. At that time, we had known each other for less than a month, yet she took the risk to sign those papers for me. Meanwhile, my fiancé had hung up on my emergency call to watch a parade with his female best friend. The doctor looked at me with deep sympathy. It was a threatened miscarriage. If you had been brought in just 30 minutes earlier, we might have saved the baby. A suffocating despair had consumed me. I called Ethan dozens of times. But I waited until nightfall, and the only people who arrived were my parents, who had driven hundreds of miles. Ethan, who was only 3 miles away at the theme park with Lily, never showed up. That day, I was completely heartbroken. I packed my bags and went home with my parents. Remembering this, I opened the chat with my cousin Mia. Before the wedding, she had messaged me. "Hazel, is the wedding starting?" A few minutes later, she added, "Don't be too sad. Even though Uncle and Aunt didn't let us attend, they actually regret it. I know you guys will patch things up eventually." She had sent me a video. Looking at my parents on the thumbnail, I hadn't had the courage to open it before. But now, my hands shook as I pressed play. In the video, my parents' eyes were red. My mom was wiping her tears. "Why is Hazel so stubborn? We told her that man is trash. What kind of man abandons his fiancée during a miscarriage to play with another woman?" And what happened? He knelt in the snow for one night, got himself hospitalized, made some empty promise, and her heart softened immediately. My dad held his coffee mug, staring silently at the floor. My mom slapped his arm in frustration. "You too. Why did you have to say such harsh things? Saying you'd disown her if she married him. Now look what happened. Our girl actually ran away." Looking at the new gray hairs on my parents' heads, my tears dripped onto the screen. After a long silence, my dad took a credit card from his wallet and handed it to Mia. "Mia, give this to Hazel when you have time. There's $50,000 on it. Don't let her struggle out there." The emotions I had suppressed all day finally exploded. I covered my face, sobbing uncontrollably until my throat went dry and hoarse. Only one thought remained in my mind. I wanted to go home. I didn't care about packing neatly. I threw everything into my suitcase. I couldn't even wait for the flight next morning. I booked a long-distance Uber for $2,000 to take me straight home. Just as I zipped my suitcase, Ethan called. "Why are you replying to my Snapchats?" I didn't answer. He clicked his tongue, his tone casual and dismissive. "We accidentally got a bit carried away, and the decorations in the main ballroom got kind of ruined. I had the hotel set up a smaller room. We'll do our vows there." The main ballroom was 10,000 square feet. The small room was barely 1,000. The girl who was experiencing the wedding got the grand ballroom, while the actual bride was relegated to a tiny side room. In Ethan's mouth, it sounded as simple as moving a parking spot, but I was too tired to care. I replied quietly, "Okay." Hearing no complaints or tears, Ethan was taken aback. Once he realized I wasn't fighting back, he let out a sigh of relief. "Good girl. The hotel is setting it up now. I also ordered an identical wedding cake from another bakery." He paused, his voice softening with a rare touch of tenderness. "Hazel, you're about to become my wife. The ceremony starts at 9. Make sure you're there on time." The call ended. I slipped the diamond ring off my ring finger and left it carelessly on the hotel nightstand. Then I turned around and got into the Uber heading home. At 8:45 p.m., the dim, windowless side room of the Grand Plaza Hotel smelled faintly of floor cleaner and stale champagne. Ethan stood by the makeshift archway, adjusting his cufflinks with growing impatience. The archway was a plastic, painted fixture the hotel kept in storage for budget conferences, draped haphazardly with leftover artificial flowers. Behind him, a few of his friends lingered, tapping their feet and checking their wristwatches. Lily was sitting on a folding chair nearby, sipping sparkling water from a flute. She was still wearing Hazel's ruined, altered wedding gown, though the lace trim along the hem was torn and blackened from being dragged through the main ballroom's spilled wine and cake frosting. "Is she seriously still making us wait?" Tyler grumbled, leaning against the doorframe. "It's almost 9. We've been here all day. My flight back to Chicago leaves in 3 hours." "She's just throwing a fit," Lily said, her voice dripping with soft, practiced innocence. She looked up at Ethan with big, apologetic eyes. "Ethan, maybe I shouldn't have stayed for the cake smashing." I feel so terrible. Hazel must be so hurt. Ethan's face hardened. He checked his phone again. No missed calls. No messages. Don't blame yourself, Lily, Ethan said coldly, his tone laced with frustration. You didn't do anything wrong. She's being absurd. I gave her everything she wanted, the luxury cars, the venue, the ring. She's 30 minutes away in the hotel suite, playing mind games because she didn't get 100% of the attention. He stepped out into the hallway and dialed Hazel's number. The line rang once, twice, 3 times, and then went straight to voicemail. Ethan scoffed, hanging up. Unbelievable. He walked briskly down the carpeted hallway toward the elevators, taking them up to the penthouse suite where Hazel was supposed to be waiting. He had already prepared his speech in his head. He would tell her how immature she was being, how she was embarrassing him in front of his friends, and how she needed to walk down that tiny aisle right now if she wanted to save this marriage. He swiped the key card at room 1208. The electronic lock beeped green. Ethan threw the door open, ready to scold her. Hazel, enough is enough. The words died in his throat. The room was pitch black, save for the orange glow of the city lights filtering through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The heavy scent of perfume and fresh roses was gone, replaced by the faint, antiseptic smell of hotel air conditioning. Ethan flicked on the light switch. The bed was neatly made, the white sheets pulled tight. The racks where her evening gowns and veil had hung were entirely bare. The counters were cleared. Her makeup, her hairbrush, her skin creams, all gone. Hazel? He called out, his voice echoing in the quiet room. No answer. He walked over to the nightstand. Standing right in the center of the dark mahogany surface was a small, velvet box. It was open. Inside rested the 2-carat platinum diamond ring he had placed on her finger during their engagement 2 years ago. Beside it lay her keycard, and beneath the keycard, her custom-made silk bride robe, slashed straight down the middle, with a pair of scissors left lying on the floor like a shed snakeskin. There was no note, no tear-stained letter,
No dramatic manifesto.
just cold, absolute emptiness. Ethan stood frozen, staring at the ring. A strange, sharp prickle of cold air swept up his spine. For the first time in 10 years, Ethan felt a sudden, inexplicable pit form in his stomach. His phone buzzed in his hand. It was a text from Lily. Ethan? Everyone is waiting. Is she coming down? Ethan stared at the screen, his jaw clenching. He forced a bitter laugh, trying to shake off the strange panic rising in his chest. She's bluffing, he muttered aloud to the empty room. She's just trying to scare me. He picked up the ring, jammed it into his pocket, and stormed out of the suite. The hum of the sedan's tires against the asphalt was the only sound breaking the midnight quiet on Highway 101. Hazel sat in the back seat of the long-distance Uber, wrapped in her softest, oversized cotton sweater, a sweater her mother had knitted for her 3 winters ago. Her wet hair was tied in a messy bun, still damp from the quick shower she had taken before stripping away every single trace of the bride she was supposed
To be.
Outside the window, the neon signboards of the city faded into the dark, rolling hills of the countryside. You okay back there, miss? The driver asked gently, glancing in the rearview mirror. He was an older man with graying hair, the kind of driver who drove with steady, careful hands. Hazel rested her cheek against the cool glass. I am better than I've been in a long time. Good, the driver nodded, adjusting his air vents. Night drives are good for clearing the head. My daughter went through a bad breakup a few years back. Thought her world was ending. Today she's running her own clinic in Seattle. Happier than ever. Sometimes, losing something feels like a tragedy, but it's really just the universe clearing the trash out of your front yard. A faint, genuine smile touched Hazel's lips. That's a good way to look at it. She unlocked her phone. There were 17 missed calls from Ethan, followed by a string of text messages that slowly devolved from arrogance to confusion, and finally to irritation. 10:15 p.m. Hazel, where the hell are you? The guests are leaving. 10:42 p.m. Are you really doing this over a cake? You are acting completely unhinged. 11:15 p.m. Fine. Have it your way. Turn off your phone and cool down.
When
You're ready to apologize, come back to the apartment. I won't be picking you
up.
Hazel didn't feel rage anymore. She didn't feel the urge to scream or send back a frantic paragraph explaining her pain. She opened his contact card, tapped block this caller, and did the same for Lily, Logan, Tyler, and every single mutual friend from the Snapchat group. Then, she went into her phone settings, opened her social media accounts, and hit deactivate. The digital link connecting her to the last 10 years of her life snapped. Silently in the dark of the moving car. Around 5:30 a.m., as the first rays of dawn painted the sky in faint shades of pink and pale orange, the Uber pulled into a quiet, tree-lined residential street in a small coastal town 300 miles away. The driver brought the car to a gentle stop in front of a two-story house with a wooden porch and a well-tended flower garden. Hazel paid the driver, adding a heavy tip. "Thank you. Truly. Take care of yourself, kiddo," the old man smiled, giving her a warm wave. Before pulling away, Hazel stood on the damp sidewalk, holding her lone suitcase. The morning air was crisp, carrying the salty scent of the nearby ocean and the earthy smell of damp
soil.
She walked up the wooden steps. Before she could even reach for the doorbell, the front door swung open. Her mother stood in the doorway, wearing a worn floral apron over her pajamas. Her eyes were swollen, red-rimmed, as if she hadn't slept a single minute all
Night.
Behind her stood Hazel's father, his hair grayer than she remembered, holding 2 hot mugs of coffee. They had clearly seen the long-distance Uber tracking info Mia had secretly passed along. Hazel stopped on the top step, her throat catching. "Mom, Dad." Her mother didn't say a single word. She didn't ask, "Why are you here?"
Or where?
"Is the groom?" She simply opened her arms wide. Hazel dropped her suitcase handle, stepped forward, and buried her face into her mother's shoulder. The dam broke. The tears she had held back through the humiliation at the venue, the disrespect in the car, and the long drive through the night came pouring
out.
She sobbed like a child, her body trembling under the weight of 10 years of misspent love and silent endurance. Her father stepped up, wrapping his large, strong arms around both of them, resting his hand gently on Hazel's back. "It's over, baby girl," her dad whispered, his voice thick with emotion.
"You're home now."
"You're safe." Back at the Grand Plaza Hotel, the morning sun poured through the stained glass windows of the main lobby. Ethan woke up on the couch in the executive lounge, a lingering headache pounding behind his eyes. He had stayed up late drinking whiskey with Logan, and Tyler, after the pathetic, stripped-down reception, had completely fizzled out. At midnight, Lily was sitting at a glass table nearby, editing photos on her laptop while eating fruit slices. "Morning, sleepyhead," Lily said lightly, offering him a sweet smile. "Did Hazel call you back yet?" Ethan rubbed his temples, pulling out his phone.
"No."
"Her line is still going. Straight to voicemail. She probably turned her phone off to play the victim." Logan walked over, tossing a rolled-up morning newspaper onto the table. "Dude, you really need to put your foot down this time. She completely embarrassed you yesterday. Imagine abandoning your own wedding just because Lily walked down the aisle first. It's so petty." "She'll be back," Ethan said with absolute certainty, pouring himself a glass of ice water. "She has nowhere else to go. Her parents haven't spoken to her in 2 years because of our engagement. Her little bakery in the city is co-signed under my name. She has no money, no network, and no one else. Give her 3
days.
When her savings run low, she'll be knocking on my door, crying." Lily bit her lip, looking down at her laptop. "Ethan, what about the marriage license? We were supposed to go to the courthouse on Monday." "We'll go next week," Ethan dismissed casually. "Let her suffer a little first. She needs to learn that she can't use public tantrums to control me." At 1 p.m., Ethan drove his Porsche back to the high-rise apartment he shared with Hazel. He expected to find her sitting on the living room couch, staring at her knees, waiting for him to open the door so she could start apologizing. He had even rehearsed his stern expression in the elevator. He unlocked the front door and stepped inside. "Hazel," he called out. Silence. The apartment was spotless, but strangely empty. Ethan walked into the master bedroom and opened the walk-in closet. Half of the closet was entirely vacant. Her clothes, her shoes, her hand-sewn aprons, her favorite throw pillows from the sofa, her collection of baking books, even the framed photos of them from college, everything that belonged to her was gone. On the kitchen counter, placed neatly under a clear glass mug, were her duplicate keys to the apartment and his luxury cars. Beside the keys lay an official legal document, a formal transfer request, removing her name from the lease and forfeiting her share of the security deposit. Ethan's heart gave a sudden, violent thump. He whipped out his phone and called his bank. "Yes, hello. I need to check the balance on the joint account for Ethan Vance and Hazel Miller." "One moment, sir," the teller replied. Sir, that account was closed. Yesterday afternoon at 4 p.m. Ms. Miller presented her ID, withdrew her half of the personal deposits, exactly $24,000, and left the remaining $60,000 in your primary account. She hadn't taken a single penny of his money. She had taken only what was strictly hers, down to the exact cent. Ethan stood in the quiet kitchen, the silence suddenly deafening. She really left? Logan, who had walked in behind him, looked around the empty closet in shock. Wait, she cleared out everything in less than 2 hours. She's acting crazy, Ethan spat, though his voice lacked its usual sharp confidence. His hands were subtly shaking as he reached for a cigarette.
She's
throwing a tantrum. She thinks if she cuts me off completely, I'll panic and run after her. Are you going to? Logan asked. Ethan lit the cigarette, blowing a cloud of smoke toward the empty balcony.
run.
After her? Not a chance. If she wants to play hardball, let her. Let's see how long her little bakery lasts when I stop paying the vendor invoices. 3 days passed. Then a week. Then 2. Ethan waited for the desperate phone call. He waited for the crying text.
He
Even left his apartment door unlocked on Friday night, fully expecting Hazel to slip in while he was sleeping. None of it happened. Instead, reality began to collapse on Ethan from directions he had never anticipated. It started on a Tuesday morning at the corporate office of Vance Logistics, Ethan's family business. Ethan sat in his corner office, reviewing quarterly financial reports, when the heavy oak door was slammed open. His father, Arthur Vance, the founder and chairman of the company, stood in the doorway, his face purple with rage. Behind him, Ethan's mother, Eleanor, looked pale and distraught. Dad? What's going on? Ethan stood up, startled. Arthur threw a thick stack of printed pages onto Ethan's desk. You arrogant, brainless fool. What did you do at your wedding? Ethan frowned. Dad, it was just a small misunderstanding between me and Hazel. She got emotional. A misunderstanding, Arthur bellowed, slamming his fist onto the desk.
The
entire business community in the state is laughing at us. Read it. Ethan picked up the papers. They were screenshots from a viral thread on a major social media platform, boasting over 2 million views. The title read, Groom forces real bride into an Uber, gives $100,000 luxury wedding to his anti-marriage female best friend. The thread contained detailed accounts written by the hotel staff and wedding vendors. There were crystal clear videos. Video 1, Ethan grabbing Hazel by the arm in front of the Maserati, dragging her away, and pushing her toward a yellow Uber while Lily sat inside the luxury car in Hazel's custom dress. Video 2, Lily and Ethan exchanging vows on stage, smashing Hazel's handcrafted wedding cake, and laughing as they threw frosting at the walls. Video 3, the hotel staff moving the real bride, set up to a dingy, 1,000 square foot side room near the kitchen. The comment section was a bloodbath. Is this groom insane? Who does this to their fiancé? The best friend isn't anti-marriage. She's a homewrecker who wants the bride's life without the title. Look at the groom's face. He looks so smug. What a pathetic excuse for a
man.
boycott Vance Logistics. If the VP treats his life partner like garbage, imagine how he treats his business contracts. Ethan's face went chalk white. Who leaked this? The hotel signed an NDA. It wasn't just the hotel, you idiot. Eleanor cried out, wiping her eyes.
The
Uber driver's dashcam footage went viral on TikTok. Hundreds of thousands of people watched your bride sitting in the back of a car in her dress, weeping quietly while you sent her text telling her to enter through the back door near the kitchen. Ethan felt a cold drop of sweat trickle down his neck. Mom, it's exaggerated. Lily just wanted an experience. Shut up about Lily. Arthur roared. Do you have any idea what this has done to the company? 3 major supply chain partners canceled their contract renewals. This morning, they cited ethical red flags and poor public judgment from executive leadership. Arthur stepped closer, pointing a trembling finger at Ethan's face. I gave you that VP position because I thought Hazel was grounding you. She was. The one who managed your schedule, smoothed over your temper, and brought respectability to your name. And you threw her away for a pampered, manipulative parasite like Lily? Dad, Lily is my friend. Not anymore, she isn't. Arthur barked. Effective immediately, you are suspended from your executive duties, without pay until this public relations nightmare is resolved. And if you don't bring Hazel back and fix this mess publicly, I will strip you of your inheritance and fire you from the board. The suspension hit Ethan like a freight train. Within 48 hours, his corporate credit cards were frozen.
The
Company-issued luxury SUV was repossessed by his father's driver. Panicked, Ethan drove his remaining sports car straight to Hazel's bakery in the downtown district, intending to force her to issue a joint public statement, saying the wedding was a staged performance piece. When he pulled up to the storefront, he froze. The grand glass windows were covered in butcher paper. A large wooden sign hung on the door, permanently closed and relocated. He rushed up to the door and rattled the handle. It was locked tight. A neighboring shop owner, a florist who had known Hazel for years, stepped out, folding her arms as she recognized Ethan. "Looking for Hazel?" the florist asked with dripping scorn. "Where is she?" Ethan demanded, his heart hammering against his ribs.
where?
"Did she move the bakery?" "Somewhere far away from you," the florist replied cold-heartedly. "She legally sold her share of the lease to a coffee franchise 2 days ago. She packed up her equipment and left town. She told me to give a message to anyone who came looking for her, especially you." Ethan took a step forward, desperate. "What message?" The florist looked him up and down with absolute disgust. She said, "The cake was ruined, the dress was ripped, and the man was trash. None of it is worth keeping." Ethan stood on the sidewalk, feeling as if someone had punched him square in the chest. The cold wind swept down the street, blowing dried leaves across his polished shoes. For the first time, the horrifying reality dawned on him. Hazel wasn't coming back. She hadn't gone into hiding to throw a tantrum. She had systematically erased him from her life, surgically cutting every tie until there was nothing left to pull on. In his state of panic and rage, Ethan drove to Lily's high-end apartment. When Lily opened the door, she was on the phone, her voice frantic and high-pitched. She was crying. "Ethan," Lily sobbed, throwing her arms around his neck as soon as he walked in. "You have to help me. People are harassing me online. Someone leaked my address and my Instagram account. Everyone is calling me a pick-me and a homewrecker. My brand sponsorships are dropping me." Ethan didn't hug her back. For the first time in 10 years, he looked at Lily's tear-stained face and didn't feel the urge to protect her. He felt a deep, sickening wave of repulsion. He pushed her hands off his shoulders. "Lily, did you know about the viral video?" Lily blinked, her tears pausing for a second. "What?"
No.
"I mean, I saw it, but I didn't post it." "Ethan, why are you looking at me like that? I'm the victim here. Hazel is doing this on purpose. She probably paid those hotel workers to leak the footage to ruin our lives." "Hazel didn't leak anything," Ethan said, his voice terrifyingly quiet.
She
"Turned off her phone and disappeared. You were the one who posted 40 photos of us kissing on the cheek in the limousine to the Snapchat group. You were the one who invited your friends to smash her custom cake." "I was just having fun," Lily squeaked, her tone shifting from innocent to defensive. "You said it was fine. You promised me I could experience being a
bride.
Why are you yelling at me?" "Because I lost my job," Ethan roared, grabbing his own hair in frustration.
I
"Lost my family's trust. My father suspended me. My entire reputation is in pieces. And Hazel is gone." Lily sneered, dropping her sweet act entirely. "Oh, so now it's my fault?"
You
"Were the one who dragged her out of the car, Ethan. You were the one who told her to enter through the kitchen. Don't try to pin your own pathetic choices on me just because your little rebound girl finally grew a spine and left you." Rebound girl. The word echoed in Ethan's mind like a gunshot. He remembered how Tyler had called Hazel a boring rebound girl in the group chat, the chat where Lily had posted her boastful photos. He remembered how Lily had giggled while wearing Hazel's dress. He looked at Lily, the girl he had put on a pedestal for a decade, the girl he had prioritized over Hazel's tears, Hazel's miscarriages, and Hazel's dreams. Without another word, Ethan turned on his heel and walked out, slamming the door behind him so hard the hallway wall shook. 2 months passed. The autumn air in the small coastal town of Seaside Cove was crisp and smelling of pine and sea salt. In the center of the town's historic district, a new shop had opened its doors 3 weeks ago. The sign above the white wooden porch read in elegant gold lettering, "Heavenly Bites Bakery." Inside, the warm light illuminated glass display cases filled with intricate tarts, golden croissants, and breathtaking wedding cakes decorated with delicate, hand-sculpted sugar flowers. Hazel stood behind the counter, wearing a light beige linen apron over a cozy sweater. Her cheeks were flush with health, her eyes bright and clear, completely devoid of the dark circles that had haunted her for years. "Hazel, sweetie," her mother called out from the back kitchen, holding a tray of freshly baked cinnamon rolls. The morning delivery from the dairy farm just
Arrived.
"Do you want me to stock the fridge?" "I'll get it, Mom. Thanks." Hazel smiled warmly. Her life had changed entirely. With the $50,000 her father had given her, combined with her own savings, she had bought the small, charming property in her hometown. Her parents worked alongside her every day, helping with deliveries, accounting, and decorating. She was peaceful. For the first time in 10 years, she slept 8 hours a night, without waking up to check if Ethan was staying out late with Lily. The bell above the shop door chimed. "Welcome to Heavenly Bites," Hazel began, turning around with a polite, professional smile. The words died in her mouth. Standing by the entrance was a man who looked like a shadow of his former self. Ethan's tailored designer suit was wrinkled and unkempt. His hair, usually meticulously styled, was overgrown and messy. His eyes were sunken, bloodshot, and framed by deep purple rings of exhaustion. He had lost at least 15 pounds, making his high cheekbones look sharp and hollow. He stood near the door, staring at Hazel as if he were seeing a ghost, his lips trembling slightly. "Hazel," he breathed out, his voice hoarse and broken. Hazel's expression didn't change.
She didn't gasp.
She didn't show fear, anger, or hatred. Her face remained entirely calm, indifferent, like looking at a stranger who had walked into the wrong store. "We're not open for public seating yet today," Hazel said evenly. "If you're here to order pastries, the display counter is ready." Ethan took 3 fast steps toward the counter, reaching out his hands as if to touch her, but stopped himself when he saw her slight, subtle step back. "Hazel, please don't speak to me like that," Ethan begged, tears suddenly pooling in his dark eyes. "I've been looking for you for 2 months. I went to your old apartment, your old bakery, your college friends. No one would tell me where you were until Mia accidentally posted a location tag on her story." Hazel looked at him, silently. "I'm sorry, Hazel," Ethan choked out, dropping to his knees right in front of the bakery display case. The proud, arrogant VP of Vance Logistics, the man who had scoffed at her tears and told her she wasn't a $100 bill, was kneeling on the hard wooden floor, weeping openly. "I was blind. I was a fool. I thought you would always be there.
I
Thought Lily was just a friend, but I realized she was toxic, selfish, and evil. I cut her off completely, Hazel. I haven't spoken to her in 6 weeks." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the small velvet box, opening it with trembling fingers to reveal the 2-carat diamond ring. "Look, I kept it. I carried it with me every day. Please, Hazel, come back home with me. We can get married properly. Whatever you want, the main ballroom, a custom cake, a new dress, a trip around the world. I'll give it to you.
I'll
Kneel in front of your parents and beg for their forgiveness." Hazel looked down at the man on his knees. She remembered the snowstorm during their sophomore year in college when he had carried her on his back to the hospital. She remembered how much she had loved that boy. And then she remembered sitting in the back of the Uber on her wedding day, listening to him tell her to enter through the kitchen because Lily was sensitive. She remembered lying in the hospital room after her miscarriage while he watched a parade at an amusement park. The love she had carried for him was like an old, burnt-out candle. There was no flame left to ignite, no matter how much wind blew over it. "Ethan," Hazel said softly, her voice remarkably gentle. Ethan looked up, a faint flicker of desperate hope rising in his eyes. "Yes, Hazel? Yes. Get up." Ethan paused, blinking. "Hazel, get up off the floor. You're embarrassing yourself and you're dirtying my clean wood." Ethan's jaw trembled. He slowly pushed himself up to his feet, staring at her in disbelief. "Hazel, do you really feel nothing? After 10 years?" Hazel looked him straight in the eyes. 10 years ago, you carried me through a blizzard, and I thought you were my hero," Hazel said calmly. "For 10 years, I gave you my youth, my patience, my loyalty, and even my child that I lost while you were buying cotton candy for Lily." Ethan winced, as if he had been slapped. "Hazel, I didn't know about the miscarriage until—" "You didn't know because you hung up on me," Hazel interrupted, her tone sharp and unyielding. "You chose not to know. You chose Lily every single time.
You
chose her on our anniversary, you chose her on my birthday, and you chose her on our wedding day." She leaned forward slightly, resting her hands on the counter. "You didn't come here today because you love me, Ethan. You came here because Your company is suffering. Your reputation is ruined. Your family is ashamed of you, and you finally realized that Lily was never going to fill the void I left
Behind.
You want your comfortable, obedient carpet back.
No.
That's not true. I love you, Ethan cried out, reaching across the glass. No, you don't, Hazel said softly. You love the way I loved you, but that girl died in the back of an Uber on the highway 2 months ago. She reached beneath the counter, pulled out a clean trash bin and opened it. Take your ring, Ethan, and leave. Ethan stared at her for a long, agonizing minute. He looked for a crack in her armor, a tear, a twitch of anger, a quiver in her lips.
He found nothing.
Only the cold, serene eyes of a woman who had completely moved on. Slowly, his hands dropped to his sides. The reality shattered him completely. He had possessed the most loyal, loving, and beautiful partner in the world, and he had personally handed her away to satisfy his own narcissistic ego. He turned around, his steps heavy and broken, and stumbled out of the bakery.
Door.
Through the window, Hazel watched him walk down the sunny street, looking small, defeated, and utterly alone. A few minutes later, her father walked out from the back kitchen, holding a mop. He looked at Hazel with quiet pride. He's gone for good this time, isn't he? Her dad asked gently. Hazel smiled, taking a deep breath of the air filled with the scent of melted chocolate and fresh vanilla. Yes, Dad. He's gone. 6 months later, the spring season in Seaside Cove arrived with full blue skies and blooming cherry blossoms along the coastline. Heavenly Bites Bakery had become the most famous patisserie in the county, winning first place at the Regional Culinary Expo. Orders for Hazel's custom wedding cakes were booked solid for the next 2 years. In the morning news, a small business article caught Hazel's eye while she drank her tea. Vance Logistics announces restructuring. Executive Ethan Vance officially removed from board. Following months of plummeting market shares, public boycotts, and severe internal mismanagement, Vance Logistics has officially severed ties with former VP Ethan Vance. Sources confirm Vance has sold his remaining shares to cover personal debts after a string of failed independent investments. As for Lily, rumors circulated through old college networks that she had been forced to move back to her small hometown after losing her social media followers and being dumped by her entire wealthy social circle. Without Ethan's money to finance her anti-marriage, high-maintenance lifestyle, she was working as an entry-level clerk at a local insurance firm, ignored and forgotten. Hazel set the newspaper down, unimpressed. Their drama belonged to a life she no longer lived. The bell above the bakery door chimed merrily. A tall man with warm brown eyes, wearing a crisp denim apron, stepped inside, holding a wooden crate filled with fresh, organic raspberries. His name was Lucas, the owner of the local berry farm 3 miles up the coast. He was a quiet, hard-working man who had spent the last 4 months bringing Hazel fresh fruit every morning, not because he had to, but because he loved seeing her smile. Morning, Master Pastry Chef, Lucas said, his voice deep and warm as he set the crate on the counter. I picked the sweetest batch of the week for your weekend. Wedding duckess. Hazel walked over, picking up a bright red raspberry and taking a bite. Perfect as always, Lucas. Lucas looked at her, his eyes soft and full of genuine, quiet respect. He pulled a small, hand-carved wooden pastry spatula from his pocket and handed it to her. I noticed your favorite spatula was wearing out on the handle, Lucas said, rubbing the back of his neck with a slight, boyish bashfulness. So I carved a new one out of cherry blossom wood for you last night. Hazel took the spatula, feeling the smooth, polished wood beneath her fingertips. It was simple, thoughtful, and carried no grand, arrogant promises, just quiet, steady care. She looked up at Lucas, her heart feeling light, warm, and wonderfully whole. Thank you, Lucas. Hazel smiled, her eyes shining under the morning sunlight. It's the sweetest thing anyone has ever given me. Outside, the spring breeze blew through the open window, carrying away the dust of the past, leaving behind only the rich, beautiful sweetness of a life truly reclaimed.